Welcome to the first class of our Introduction to Debate, which we are very excited to be doing together with everyone here. So I want to clarify that our debate course is use of debate in our classrooms and in the lessons that we have. Debate does not include, you don't have to have a debate club. You don't have to have a debate competition in your schedule. Those things are nice, but the point is to use the concepts of debate to make it more accessible to students. And for us, that's the main focus. So what is debate? Debate is an organized argument in which participants discuss a topic from two opposing sides. That's going to be our focus, to create a structure for one or more participants to discuss a topic from two opposing sides. This is different from other forms of speaking exercises. For example, if you have a public speaking activity where the students are given a topic to focus on, they can engage it from many different topics. They don't need to debate with each other. And for those familiar, for example, with Model United Nations, there too, students can bring many different policies, and they don't necessarily need to engage on the opposite side of the same argument. So here, the focus of debate at a core is an organized argument, a clear argument where participants discuss a topic from two opposing sides. Okay, so what we're going to learn here in this course is how to structure an argument, how to make an issue debatable. This is important for our classes, and that we sometimes have good ideas for topics. How do we turn it into a debate topic? We'll talk about the use of logic, the components of a strong argument. We'll focus on some public speaking for debate. The purpose of our course here is to encourage students speaking in English and enjoying the process through this activity, and eventually to build winning arguments both for ourselves and for our students. The requirements in the class is to, first of all, do the async assignments. We're going to practice, take notes, and also something very important I want to focus on here is not to speak from memory. And the reason not speaking from memory is so important is that we oftentimes equate speaking ability with extemporaneous speaking, with making things up on the spot. And I can tell you all that it is actually very, very calming for students when the words are written out in front of them. This is, by the way, why when students choose to use bullet points early on in their process, I generally say, write your speech out word for word. Word for word speeches, the second they don't have to make anything up, calms them down. This is especially important for English second language students who may be quite competent speakers, but aren't confident in themselves. The second you take out the extemporaneous element, there is a lot of calm. So for opening speeches and debate especially, it's good to have them practice to write it out word for word. And we're going to have a drill like that here, and you'll see the difference. The second that students don't need to focus on what they're going to say, they're able to focus on how they're going to say it, and there is a type of calm. Another thing I'd like to bring up here is that along with not extemporaneous speaking, is for myself at least, I'd recommend not to have students memorize their speeches unless you have students from a drama club. I have one student in my university group that I teach who was a drama major, and I said, fine, you can memorize your speeches, but usually have them reading it off of their page will bring calm and confidence, and that's something that for at least the initial drills you do with your class, I recommend trying. Just watch the difference when they have every word in front of them. All right, so the debate rules. Through various roles in a debate, we'll develop our analytical and critical thinking skills, and also improve the ability to persuade and sharpen messages, which is also something very important. Now, we're going to get to this in the coming weeks, but I want to talk about the debate roles. Anyone here who has experience with debate has at least heard some of these terms. The roles within a debate are proposition, opposition, and then there's extension speakers and summary, which is what happens in the end of the debate. We're going to focus primarily on proposition and opposition throughout the course. There'll be lessons dedicated to what these roles mean. How do you engage in setting up a debate? How do you engage in being a first responder to a debate? The process of refutation, which is bringing down someone else's argument. Bringing down an argument is different from building up an argument. And both sides of the debate are going to need to do both. And we're going to learn in this course that there's a difference between building an argument and effectively taking one down. Because you can do a very good job bringing down the other side, 99%. But unless a constructive argument is offered on the other side, that still leaves something over nothing. And for students, they sometimes feel that just opposing is enough. And we'll see how to show that, like, you need to be able to do both. I also want to talk about the public speaking element. This is a course which focuses not just on debating, which is fascinating and fun and interesting, but there's also the speech element through this class. We're going to focus on how to present a message, pause, deliver strong content. Knowing your content is the biggest boost to self-confidence in real time, which is why for the students, we want to bring this to a place of comfort and engagement. Some of the more advanced students or students with personalities for debate will take to this immediately. You will find some of those will go like, where has this been the whole time? For others, it takes more time. But through these programs, a lot is developed, and students will improve significantly in their skills, whether it's 1 to 2 or 5 to 10, through the structure and what this brings. Within public speaking, we'll give this hopefully a little time at the end of the course. There's going to be body language, tonality, and choice of words. For this, we're going to emphasize to keep the words simple. One of the things that unifies all of the English-speaking courses that we teach, both for teachers and for students, is following what Malcolm Gladwell says, which is teach brilliant ideas in 8th grade English. And for anyone who's been in another one of my Hishtamliyot or Jason's, we talk about how it's audience-focused speaking, which is why our students need to be slow and clear and focus on not large, impressive words, which they would write for you in an essay, which we would enjoy to read, but to make sure that it's audience-focused speech. And debate is a great place when writing arguments to forget that people are listening to us, and the reward that they can get from the audience and also from us as educators. We go, yes, we agree, or no, we don't agree, but the message is clear. So with words and messages, and we're going to talk about that a little bit towards the end, we want the students to not be worried about bringing the most complicated word they can think of. Keep it clear that the audience understands and can respond with, for or against is the goal. I also want to throw out there that within the drills that we're going to learn, there's a format of debate called the Oxford Union format. I don't know if anyone has seen their debates online. They're definitely a lot of fun. And they have 2 doorways for the debate, which is one is the ayes and the nays, the yeses and the nos. And the students or the participants come to watch the debate will come in through the door of the opinion they have and then leave if their opinion changed or stayed the same through the same kind of door. And as far as messaging and persuasion, it's an interesting class drill that you can sort of have, sides of the room that students can stand, the yes or the no in the beginning, and after the debate, see if it changes. And there are a lot of other cool drills that we're going to get through with that. So this is the overview of the course of what we hope to cover to make debate accessible to students, and hopefully they'll have such a good time with the activity, they won't even notice that they're practicing their English. Okay, so are there any questions on any of this before we jump into the intro of debate? All right, seeing none, let's get into a little bit of what is debate, and then after that, we're going to practice some of these ideas. So what is debate? Important words in debate for today is debate and dialectic. All right, Ofer, can you please read to us what is debate? You're on. Unmute yourself.
Did you call somebody's name, Daniel, or you just said?
Yeah. I couldn't find the mute button. Okay, so first of all, debate is a noun. noun debate, plural noun debates, a formal discussion on a particular topic in a public meeting or legislative assembly in which opposing arguments are put forward.
All right, wonderful. So this is the formal definition of debate here. Ofer, if you can read it again now, and I'm going to slow down specifically on the different elements. So this is the actual definition of a definition of debate to understand the different components. All right, Ofer, again.
Right. A formal discussion on a particular topic in a public meeting or legislative assembly in which opposing arguments are put forward. A debate is discussion with the purpose of achieving a goal in a place where things can get done.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Ofer. Okay, so one of the things when we're setting up our class with a debate is understanding even if they're not going to be a legislative assembly, our class is not a parliament, it's not a governmental body, the idea of debate is not just to philosophize. Now, the inspiration for debate comes from the great Greek philosophers who would sit in the forum of the city in a true democracy, or well, whoever was allowed to vote was able to vote, hundreds or thousands, and it was really a majority vote in that matter. But the debate wasn't debates that were going nowhere. It was a discussion with the purpose of achieving a goal in a forum that could get things done. So we're structuring debates for students, even if the debate won't really go anywhere. If our question is, should we lower the age to vote, for example, we should treat it like we are such a forum and there is weight to our decisions. All right, Nora, I'm going to have you read next. Debate, I'm just going to say, uses dialectical thinking to reach the most correct conclusion between sides. This is the second word that we want to take to heart when reaching debate, which is the word dialectic. Nora, please read to us about the dialectical method.
Okay, so dialectical method. The dialectical method is discourse between two or more people holding different points of view about a subject who wish to establish the truth of the matter, guided by reasoned arguments.
All right, again, this is definitely a mouthful. So if you're going to show the slideshow to students, next one has a color to see the different components involved. Nora, please read again slowly.
Okay, the dialectical, before I read, Daniel, could you please explain the thing of the colors? Like each color should be pronounced differently or emphasized or what?
Color is a different point. So it's just slowly reading through, maybe a slight pause between the colors, but it's more to understand that each color represents something different.
Okay, the dialectical method is discourse between two or more people holding different points of view about a subject who wish to establish the truth of the matter, guided by reasoned arguments. Okay,
so with dialect, the discourse between two or more people, thank you very much, Nora, who hold different points of view, can't be the same point of view, who wish to establish the truth of the matter, guided by reasoned arguments. And this is the key here, is that they are guided by a desire for truth. And this is the spirit we want to also bring to classrooms. Is the debate is for us generally a game to bring discussion and thought. But our goal is to reach whatever is most true and most correct between the sides. We want to be transparent, and we want this to be the guide that if someone brings a better idea, we go with that. And this is why, if you would like to use debate in a less competitive manner, the students actually can agree with each other and go, you know what, that's a good idea. I didn't think of that. So debate doesn't have to come in the all or nothing format. And this can be done as a more inclusive persuasion activity, or in the, all or nothing, and that really is up to us as educators to decide if we want the focus to be on sharing of ideas using a dialectical tool, or telling the opposition you cannot agree at all. Try your best to find something to oppose, and both are good, and both bring out different types of discussions. But debate can also be a more cooperative activity with this in mind. Okay, so we're going to move on to this character. Who is this? If anyone recognizes, feel free, open. Yeah.
Socrates?
Socrates, yeah, exactly. That's yeah. So, question: why is Socrates important? Anyone?
Because he used
Questions,
Thought-provoking.
father of philosophy.
He questions everything.
Questions everything. Questions, thought-provoking. Good, excellent. All good answers. Anyone else? Right, great. Well, we pretty much got it. All right, Itamar, I'm going to ask you to read, please.
He taught through debates.
Yeah, he went through debates.
Yep, he taught debates, debating with the students, as far as I remember.
What? Sorry, what? One more time, please.
I think that Socrates taught through debates with his students, and this is how he founded something that is what we call today debating, the theory of debating or something like that, as far as I remember.
Excellent. No, you're right. Perfect. So the Socratic dialogues, which were written by his student Plato, are given credit for being a very interesting form of writing, where instead of just a story or an essay description, it's characters speaking back and forth. It's like a play. It's like Socrates says something, and then someone else responds, and they go back and forth. So yeah, it's exactly the format. And you're touching on exactly what we're going to get to. All right, Itamar, please read us about the Socratic method.
Socrates developed the Socratic method, a form of inquiry and discussion between individuals based on asking and answering questions to simulate critical thinking and to eliminate ideas.
Wonderful. Please continue.
The Socratic method often involves a discussion in which the defense of one point of view is questioned. One participant may lead another to contradict himself in some way, thus strengthening the inquirer's own point.
All right, great. So for Socrates, what he would do was through questions and answers, get the other side to commit to a position and then try to, bring out the truth, either leading to a contradiction or to a conclusion. This can be seen. So we're going to watch, we're now going to see a simplified version of the Socratic method. I'm going to invite two participants to be our demonstrators, Lisa and Amy. So if you can both unmute yourselves, we're going to have a little Socratic dialogue here. I'm going to ask that Amy reads the black text and Lisa reads the orange text. All right? And let's go.
Don't touch that.
Why?
Because it's a fireplace.
What's wrong with touching a fireplace?
There's a fire in it.
What's wrong with touching fire?
Fire is very hot and can burn you.
Etc.
All right, excellent. So first of all, we have another one on the next slide. We see here that through the process of questions, we're clarifying what it is. So first of all, don't touch that. Why should I not touch that? Because it's a fireplace. Well, what is wrong? If we're taking it that nothing is true or clear until it is said, we can see that we have to establish that there's something wrong with touching a fireplace, and that it then leads to fire, and that fire is hot. All these things that are not a given and need to be clarified throughout the process.
Like
right?
talking to my son.
Yeah, it's exactly, we probably have Socratic dialogues that we try at home, throughout the time as we teach, not touch hot things. All right, one more, Amy, let's, all right.
This creature is a fish.
Why is it a fish?
Because it swims.
A dog swims. Is it a fish?
No, this creature doesn't have hands and feet.
A snake swims and has no hands and feet. Is it a fish?
Okay, so now we see here in the reverse, there's a statement like this creature is a fish. But what makes a fish a fish? And through how Lisa beautifully and dramatically continued, you see that going through, there needs to be a specification. Now the responder needs to continue asking, what makes something what it is? And here also, I'll say sort of educator's point, you can take scenarios like these. These two slides are in the slideshow that is available to all, but you can take other ones and have a student try to see how far you can go until the item is defined and someone goes, it is now completely described, I have a more whole answer. Because many different creatures swim. I would venture that pretty much everyone on this Zoom call is able to swim. But are we fish? Fish can, breathe underwater. So can, various underwater sea creatures, So while we all know this is something which develops the ability to define things. And getting this even slightly practiced with students makes a very big difference. And you don't need to be a debate expert to be able to get the students to think and say, all right, describe to me what this is. So just like we did right now, you can give the student, let's say one of them, a concept, not a picture, and say, okay, something is something. This is a cat. This is a tree. And they have to now continue giving unique characteristics to show that whatever they are presented really is what it is. And the best part of this drill, like what we have here, is as the student starts to think of the definition points, and the other one is thinking of also the defining criteria, pretty quickly, they forget they're speaking English. And it really becomes this other type of activity that takes, precedence over that, which is really cool if you play a Socratic method game in the classroom. So this.
Can I ask just a pedagogical question?
Yes.
Will we be getting exercises like this, or should I take notes of these ideas?
So I always recommend taking notes. You may get an idea that is triggered from something here and develop into whatever it is. Like the slideshows, as I said, they're online. You can use these directly with your class. You can tailor different parts of it. These slideshows are meant to be, student friendly for, whichever the age groups, generally for like middle school and high school. They have been used for 5th and 6th grade. So you have these two example slides. But if you want to turn this into a game, there are a few ways to go about it. And those are some of the points that I'm bringing. Okay, so the other thing that I want to talk about, the introduction of debate, is the parts of the persuasive message. So first is the Socratic method. We can see how this can be used as a teaching tool, and how these types of discussions already take us from being the sage on a stage and bring us to being a facilitator where the students are speaking amongst themselves. And we can see how this can be quite engaging for students. And I would say if you think this is good, just wait till next week when we get into argumentation and structure of arguments, and that one's already a real journey. The second thing which you can use for types of messaging are the parts of a persuasive message. And this leads us, before we learn debate, we need to remember that logic is not enough to persuade in real life. People require different methods of persuasion to be convinced. Persuasion is to cause something to do or be something. So persuasion is to bring people to a different place. And the reason I take the time to share this with students before we go into debate is because what we're going to learn in debate is very structured. It's very like there's a structure for an argument. You have a statement, an explanation, an example. Each part has its place. But debating and works in the debate room. But using debate techniques doesn't necessarily persuade in real life. And we know from arguments we've had with friends, with partners, with children and parents. Sometimes we'll argue, and everybody loses. So it's clearly different from what we have in the debate room. So you can, if you want to, share with students that what we're learning here has a lot of utility and will help us speak the language of logic. But in real life, there are other elements of persuasion. And these, by the way, can also be used as teaching tools in different ways that we'll go over. So some of you may already have heard about the persuasive message terms, ethos, logos, and pathos. Has anyone heard or seen these before? Raise your hand if you have.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so some of us have. For those who have not, we'll go through with these. Let's start with ethos. Larissa, please read to us. We'll have Larissa read first. We'll have Shahar read the next one. And I think
this is credibility means I'm persuaded by the perceived expertise of the presenter. We tend to believe people whom we trust on a given subject. It can be a mother, policeman, doctor, or someone who regularly drives on a certain highway.
Right, wonderful. Let's continue.
Appeal to authority. One of the central problems of argumentation is to project an impression to the listener that you are someone worth listening to. In other words, you must make yourself an authority on the subject of the speech, as well as persuading with logos and pathos to be taken seriously.
Wonderful. So ethos is the appeal to authority. And you can actually, by the way, one thing you can have with students is when they are building their presentation and persuasive speech, they should show why they are the expert in the speech that they're giving. And this gives pause to think that anyone can be an expert. Usually for students, the credibility will be either their parents' experience, or if you have them like interview someone in their neighborhood or someone they know, it could be a fireman or a doctor, that their appeal to authority can be that they are leaning on the authority of who they interview. But it's important that they understand that it's not enough that we, like, by the way, if they went on a family trip to London, maybe they are the authority on London comparatively. But the credibility and the expertise is part of the persuasive argument, and in real life, it is something that makes a difference. It's like, hi, I'm Daniel, I'm teaching debate. I did competitive debate for a number of years in many different countries. That's something which can add to the credibility. So when you tell the students, add ethos to your speech, to your essay, and what you do with your summer vacation, that's an interesting thing to get them thinking in that kind of a direction. All right, Shahar, please read to us about logos. We'll have Debbie reading.
Me?
Yeah, Shahar, go.
All right, Sahara. Okay. Logos, logical, means persuading by the use of reason. Logos is the structure of arguments. Logos uses statements, explanations, and examples to make a rational justification for your claims. Speaking only in logic will be the least natural for us in some ways. Logos was also Aristotle's, I don't know how to pronounce this, favorite method of communication.
Okay, so logic is use of reason and use of structured arguments. This is what we're going to be learning next week. And it makes a very big difference in communication. I find not just with students, but after I learned the structure of arguments, I was able to be much more clear. And this really helps as a teaching tool in general for clarity. And I can say that when I did learn how to use logic, which I was in university on the debate team, I watched my grades improve 5 to 10 points on everything, just because of the clarity of the answers I was able to give. So this one is, I'd say, the most structured, less of an appeal to other elements, and that's something which really has its place. And I won't talk about it more now because we have an entire lesson dedicated to it next week. Debbie, can you please read to us about the last one? Okay, I guess Debbie can't do that. Any volunteer to read? Someone who has not read yet and has a microphone?
Sure, I'll do it.
All right, Ilana, please read to us about appeal to emotion.
Appeal to emotion. Pathos, emotional, means persuading by appealing to the audience's emotions. Giving a friendly story, joke, sob story, or other emotionally charged technique. Pathos is what makes the human connection.
Wonderful. Let's keep going.
Appeal to emotion. Language and style choice are strong tools to affect an audience's emotional response. Emotional appeals should be used sparingly, as they can distract as well as effectively enhance an argument.
Wonderful. Excellent. And this is really a part of it. A lot of the time, if we give students the drills, they can be very, very, emotionally charged using, hyperbole and other things, which is completely fine. And I think that, one of the drills that you can do if you work with the pathos part is to take a story and really try to dramatize it and try to, pull at heartstrings. It doesn't often work. We find that the appeals to emotion in classes usually don't bring about that kind of response just because it's, just thrown in people's faces. Like, think of the children who are starving and, living in fear on a regular basis. With time, you can work on the emotional appeal of it. But usually it's to have a student bring in a joke or some other kind of element that wouldn't naturally be there that helps soften the introduction, wake the audience up throughout. TED Talks are excellent examples where the use of pathos is woven in with messaging and with ethos. Like the TED speaker usually is an expert who will talk about their expertise and experience, will bring fun, engaging stories, and share an idea worth expressing. So
still, Daniel, the way they should convey their message, even though there are a lot of emotions that are involved, it should be objectively done, right?
Yeah, there is a place for emotion. This is one of the things where before you get into debate and you want to practice the use of pathos in speeches, one of the things you can watch for is watch how students will get carried away in their appeals to emotion. Sometimes they'll have like no argument, just lots of emotion. And it's a good thing to see, because once you start teaching structure, they'll already catch that. So like right now, the goal of pointing out like, oh, if you like this, you can do this, you can do that. As far as recommendation, well, once I finish this segment, I'll talk about like drills you can use using these elements. But any one of these can be a focus for a speech presentation, saying right now, show me why you're an authority on this. Show me a logical argument. Make me like more open and sympathetic through either humor or sadness or some other kind of connector. And these are all different elements that can engage and persuade an audience. So given that these different elements exist, and we can see, by the way, why each one of them is incomplete on its own, there is a question of what combination is the most persuasive. So I want us to take a minute now to think, and I'll say already that if we take all of these as bite-sized pieces, there is a combination of 5 parts to the persuasive method, okay? And some of these are used more than once. So I'd like everyone to take a minute to organize pathos, ethos, and logos to describe the structure of the persuasive message. Some of these are used more than once. For example, ethos, pathos, logos, ethos, logos. For example, this is not the correct one. Okay, so let's take a minute. Everyone can write or type to themselves. Please put in the chat what you think the order is. Just write letters. So you can write, for example, E or L or P. I'll just remind everyone what these are. Ethos is authority, logos is reason, pathos is emotion. So please post in the Zoom chat just the letters in the order that you think they should be. So for example, if I was going to write what I have here, ethos, pathos, logos, it would be E, P, L, E, L. All right, E, L, E, P, L. Wonderful. Just please post them in.
So structure in what sense? In the sense of what's more important?
If we're making a persuasive message, if I want to persuade you about some kind of idea. So for example, I would start with my appeal to authority. It's like, hi, I'm Daniel, I teach debate. I then bring you a story about a student whose life got better because of debate. I then bring you an argument about the effectiveness of debate. I remind you that I am the debate expert, and then I remind you of the benefits of debate. For example.
Okay.
All right, well, let's get a few more in. Everyone, please write 1-letter combination. All right, great. So we're going to see a whole bunch here. We have pathos, logos, ethos, logos, pathos, ethos, logos, pathos, logos, ethos, ethos, logos, ethos, logos, pathos. Really nice. Pathos, logos, ethos, logos, pathos, ethos, logos, ethos, pathos, logos. All right, we're getting a few more. If everyone can pop in if they have not yet. All right, thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Nora. I'll give another few seconds. Whoever did not put, please put in what you feel the most effective conversation is. Okay, so before we get to the answer, which is what is taught to be the most persuasive method, this can also be an interesting teaching drill to give the students an assignment where they need to structure a speech with these different elements in the orders that you give them. So you can put on the board, all right, here's an idea. We're going to talk right now about why students should vote from a younger age, let's say. We're going to get started, and we want you to write it in this order with this type of messaging, for example. Okay, so the order of the persuasive message, as taught by the philosophers to be most effective, is the following, which we have at least one who got correct, which is pathos, ethos, logos, ethos, pathos. To start with an emotional appeal, bring the appeal to authority, bring the logical message, remind people why you're credible, and then go back to the appeal to emotion. Okay, that being said, while this is the structure of the persuasive message, in classroom drills, you are more than welcome to shift these around. You can take an entire, 2 classes to teach these concepts and have students write with these elements in mind. To anyone who has been in the public speaking Ishtalmut that we do, we talk about the personas, where we have, I see some of you are nodding. So just like there, you tell the student, okay, you are the accepting hero, you are the reluctant hero. So here you can shift the elements and say, in this speech, focus on your ethos. Make sure that we understand your credibility. Or we want you to lead into something which is more of an emotional appeal. Okay, so to some what we've seen here in the beginning, and then we're going to take our break and work on these things. Within the persuasive message, too, we now have tools to break up our communication where a speech or an essay describing an experience could have lost all of these. But instead, we're able to see here that we have a structure that we can change it around. We can focus on any one of these types of combinations. First of all, as a speaking drill to emphasize one of these, or to change up the order and see how the participants adapt. They can write a speech where ethos comes first and another one where logos comes first. So you see there are different things to play with. And yet again, if the students are busy focusing on why their appeal to authority comes second and then presenting it, they may not focus as much on the challenges of language that comes with it. Okay, so I want to say that it's like we see here, by the way, a drill can be write a life lesson you want to share as pathos, ethos, logos, ethos, pathos. So for example, of topics, running in the morning makes me feel alive, or reading a biology book before bed helps me sleep. So these are some examples of topics. You can come up with more, but you see how the topic plus the structure already gives a fun and engaging way to try to construct our message. So during our debate course, we will work mainly on logos, but we should remember and also tell students that other communication tools are needed when we step back into real life. So with that in mind, are there any questions on what we have just gone over with? All right. Well, seeing none then, I'd like to thank you all for being wonderful readers and participants. And let's